Hello, this is Virtualis, the chess noob, learning and having fun with chess. Pushing the pawns in front of your king is always a bit risky, and Gary, the g-pawn, in the following game abandoned his post and his king died. Don't be like Gary. Let's go take a look at this game. So I had the white pieces in this game, and this was a 10-minute with 5-second increment Lichess game of Rapid. So I, as usual, led with e4, and my opponent decided to play the modern defense. d4, fianchetto the bishop. I don't particularly like playing against the modern. I find the hypermodern systems a little bit confusing, and what I usually do is I just simply try to follow opening principles, develop, and castle. So obviously that's under threat, so let's develop the knight, give a second defender. They push a pawn, I develop a bishop, getting ready to castle. They push another pawn, and I castle. And I was very happy to see that on analysis, and I'm actually quite okay in this position. In fact, it's plus 0.7. Every move so far, however, has been a book move. They develop a knight. I decide, well, given I've castled, let's try to put some threats in. This wasn't the most accurate move, so it's an inaccuracy. So Stockfish reckoned bringing the rook into the e file was better, but it's still okay, about 0.3. They now make a mistake with pushing forward with their knight, probably needs to develop first, and this knight doesn't really have much of an attack. So I kind of ignore it, develop my queen. They now short castles, and I decide to kick out that knight. They sort of counterattack my bishop, but that's fine. This knight is still hanging, drawn back, and I thought that this was probably not a great position for their knight. Stockfish now really wants me to develop my pieces, develop that bishop, and I sort of missed that a little bit, so these pieces aren't developed. I sort of chose to strike in the center, so that again was a relative inaccuracy, though I retain a slight advantage. They sort of put an extra defense, that's fine. I push another pawn. Queen comes out. I was pretty sure that that queen was attacking nothing. So I push a pawn, attacking the queen, forcing the queen to move a second time. All good. Again, slight advantage here, around sort of plus 1.5 or so. And I end up taking a little bit more sort of queenside space. Again, Stockfish really wanted to see my bishop develop. Knight out to the edge of the board. I was pretty sure that that wasn't a good move. My king is over here. This knight probably doesn't do anything. I decide to take more queenside. They push that pawn. I leave that alone. Interesting, Stockfish wants me to take it. However, I thought, I'm not sure I want to bring my bishop all the way to that side and for the opponent to capture back. But obviously, if they did capture back, I had my queen there as well. But I didn't. I chose not to do that in the game, and I'm not sure I saw that tactic anyway. They're forced to bring their knight back, so I'm pretty sure that was good for me. I now finally developed my bishop. Stockfish thought that was a better square here. Push a pawn. Now, so lining these up, interesting. Stockfish didn't think that was that great because with that move, it's very interesting. I am forced to bring this bishop back, but you will see this move of the g-pawn ostensibly makes sense, but Gary, the g-pawn, has now abandoned the defense of their king. And the longer Stockfish thinks about it, the worse it gets. Initially, it was about plus 2.5, but at higher depth, it goes all the way to worse than plus 4 for black. So pushing this move, pushing that pawn permanently damaged and created a weakness around the opponent's king. And as you will see, this actually ends up being the beginning of the end for black, that this ends up being a permanent weakness. So I bring my bishop back. So, I had pushed my g-pawn as well, but here I'm reasonably protected around my king. They push, that's fine, and they hang that pawn, so I capture. So that g-pawn is now lost. So Gary pushed forward and then died. These two pawns no longer really defending each other. They're separated. They sort of move their sort of knight forward. That's fine. I now capture that pawn. They try to attack, ostensibly pinning it to my queen. That's fine. Unpin now with my bishop. King, seeing that, being in the open file doesn't feel very safe, decides to hide in a corner. However, that's an inaccuracy, as we shall see. I take with check, rook forced to the queen forced to capture. However, there's no real attack there, given that it's defended by my bishop. I now push the pawn forward again. So I've got a very, very strong palisade. You will notice I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential pieces attacking the king. And in terms of the defense of the king, it's only really these pieces, maybe the pawn, and these pieces over here have yet to develop. Bit of a problem for black. They bring their rook over with check, that's fine. Hide my king behind that pawn. This might have been the slightly better move. They take, that's fine. I still have this piece, and of course the pawn is there. They try to bring their queen into part of the picture. That's fine. I decide to sort of move my king to, again, defend that piece. And that's probably why moving the king there originally would have been better. It would have saved me a move. They now, black wasn't sure what to do, decided to do something on the queen side. However, that is a mistake because pawn to f7 to the 7th rank, rook forced to defend. They had a better move by, developing their knight to defend that promotion square. However, now this queen can no longer defend the king. It's on the wrong square. And queen to f6 is mate. Good game. GG. My big takeaway from this game is to be careful pushing your defensive pawns in front of your king. It can create a long-term critical weakness. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.